David
Moore, Dallas Morning News. If you look back on where you were defensively, your first 5 games here as head coach, to where you are in these first 5 games, have you been a part of such a dramatic turnaround in such a short period of time on one side of the ball all the way across the board?
Do you have a flight delay or something? I mean, oh my God. You lost me at the first 5 games.
Just where you were defensively your first, early.
I mean, obviously, statistically, when we started in 2020, it was, we had some tough days, particularly, stopping the run in 2020. And this is, clearly a different defense. Obviously, it's a different personnel that, that fits the system and all those things. I always looked at 2020 as a transition year. Every head coach goes through it. You have a vision of how you want the team to look and how you want them to practice and how you want them to play. So, that was definitely part of that transition.
This is Matt Dixon with the AP. Following up on that, but I promise not to start with the first 5 games. How much of what Dan has now started in that offseason when he came in after that year? How much did he have to build the psyche and the morale of those vets that were back, or those kinds of things? Yeah,
definitely. And I think not only with Dan, coming, you had Joe Witt, and I think just the working relationship that he had with Dan, and obviously Joe worked with me for 10 years up in Green Bay. So, all that as far as how we wanted to play, and frankly, when Dan arrived, we started. The transition in 2020, with 3 match as our base coverage, and where Dan is, was historically from a 3 vision. I'm not exactly sure how you all communicate that, but the difference. So we stayed with the match and built it from there as the foundation. And so in some senses, the transition started in 2020, and then when, just like every time there's a new coordinator, and we carried as much over as we could from 20, and Dan and the staff did a great job with the language, and because language is a big part of it, and we just wanted to be multiple and aggressive, and I think our defense definitely illustrates that.
Louis Scruggs, NBC5 Dallas. Can you speak to what you first saw with Dorrance Armstrong when he was here, mainly on special teams, and what he's become? And then my second question for you, from an advantage being on the road, Washington or LA, where have you seen more Cowboy fans at?
Good question. I'll start with the second one. I'd say LA. I'd say there's a few more our fans in LA than Washington, as I recall back to last year's game. And what was the first question?
Dorrance
Armstrong, yeah. DA, was exclusively, played primarily on special teams in 2020. Then really, every opportunity he was given, defensively, he performed. He was always getting pressures and potentially, making impact plays on very short, number of reps. But if you look at just the way, he's matured, his body's changed, and he just, to me, he's done this every year. So it's he's a joy to coach. Old school, you don't have to say much to DA. He's a hard worker, very consistent, but very, very instinctive, aware football player.
Dave, you got anything?
No.
Oh,
Mike
I thought it was done.
Mike McCarthy, Dallas Morning News. There was a 3-page sequence to start the second quarter where you had a tackle for loss by Sam Williams, a tackle for loss by Tristan Hill, and then DeMarcus on third down makes a tackle downfield, 12 yards downfield to get off the field, third down. Mm-hmm. What do you think that sequence says about the collective contributions that you guys are getting from your defensive line?
Well, the defensive line, and you could put the whole front in there. I mean, they all contributed, but what I love about it is just the play time, the rotation. I thought our rotation, as far as what we projected going into the game, was right on the money, and that's and that's what you want, because it gives all these guys opportunities to make plays. They're staying fresh. They're playing. We're anywhere from 21 plays to 40. Throughout that whole group, and I think it's just so beneficial. I know from a coach's perspective, but it also, it's just very healthy all the way through. I mean, it's healthy. It's the competitive spirit is amongst us to get those opportunities and perform when you're given the chance, and I think it's something that's a huge strength of ours right now.
Mike Todd Archer of the ESPN. How's Micah feeling today, and what do you learn about a guy when he still produces when he's not right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's definitely a threshold in the National Football League that you see all players go through, and you learn a lot about players when they play through injury. And you look at the impact that Micah made, and he obviously ended the game there in the fourth quarter. So his ability to play through the injury, I think it started early in the first half, and then they got him taped up at halftime. So. But I think he still got 40 plus plays. But he was impactful when he was in there, and especially being for as young as he is. So I think it says a lot about the individual.
How's he today? Have you gotten any word?
Good. I saw him earlier. So I mean, he's getting better. I mean, it's we're 24 hours away from the game, so I anticipate he'll do some. I don't have I'm actually going right to the training room from here, so we haven't really done the reps or. Been specific on exactly how long we're going to practice on Wednesday.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. What's the plan for Dak this week?
The plan for Dak, no more. When I talk to those guys, I know there's an evaluation that I need to get the facts from. So we'll have a plan for him starting Wednesday.
How much do you try to, because he wants to play obviously, and all guys do when they come. How do you protect himself from trying to get out there?
I mean, I think you really need to listen to the medical. Number one, I think that's being Captain Obvious, and but in just watching him go through the rehab. So he's doing everything he can, but until the ball comes consistently off his hand, that'll be the final step. But until the medical people get comfortable where he can throw in live action. So I mean, and I don't know when that's going to happen. They haven't given me that's information that has not come down the road yet.
Patrick, do you have anything? You good? Todd.
Mike, can you see a scenario where Dak could be active as Cooper's backup during this ramp up for him as he's coming back from this deal?
Let's trust the medical. Once we get past the medical, I'll answer that question. Right?
David.
Mike, have you found sometimes that, like you say, the identity of the team is different every season? Have you found sometimes that identity forms quicker when a key player is out, because it kind of forces, it accelerates some things?
I think that could definitely be a trigger, because it's just like anything. It creates more opportunity for others, and then when more than one person has to step up for one individual being out, obviously that's an opportunity for 2 or 3 more people to grow, and then it gives you an opportunity to grow more in your run offense or your run defense. And yeah, I think that those are triggers that also promote growth, and I think you see it every single, not I'm gonna say season, but you probably almost see that weekly.
Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Circling back to the injury front, any update on Jason Peters on if he'll miss some time and how much?
I have not got an injury report on Jason, so once again, we'll have it for you Wednesday. Yeah.
Thomas Smith, he felt it was a great learning experience yesterday to go up against Aaron Donald. What have you made of just the way Tyler processes his struggles when they do come as learning experiences, and how valuable is it when he comes to the sideline after a tough rep to have a guy like Jason Peters in his ear telling him some technical adjustments they can make?
I mean, let me make clear about Tyler, and we all learned this right away. I mean, this young man's an alpha. I mean, he hasn't blinked with any opportunity that he's been exposed to. So, he's very consistent. I'm very diligent in his preparation. Mentally, classroom, practice environment, all those things. But what I like about him, he stays aggressive. He's a competitor, and he's just, he's young. He's green in some areas, and it's just exciting to watch him grow weekly. And what a great experience to go against, someone like Aaron Donald, and he'll be better for it. But trust me, I really going back to week one, I was more excited to see him play because of the type of person is. We all recognize the talent, but he's just a young man that needs to continue to play, and he will be just fine.
Coach, kind of along the same lines of Kyle Yeomans, DallasCowboys.com, but with DeMarcus Lawrence, how much has he grown since you got here, just into the scheme with Dan Quinn and kind of the way that he's shown up this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously he's the vet here. Just so impact. I mean, you just cannot not love the way he plays. I mean, he's so physical, and just particularly. And I'm not talking about sacks, just the way he goes after the football, and he's so violent. Even in the run defense. So, but I think obviously our system, our rotation, Dan's experience, Dan's exceptional. Not only as a defensive coordinator, but especially in front play, and I think it's been very good for him.
Has his mindset changed any from the time that you first got here to now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's 2020 was so different. I don't really. We're just getting to know each other. We had a lot going on more than our normal year. So I would think all of our mindsets have changed in a positive way.
Have you seen Kellen Moore grow in the last couple of weeks? He lost his quarterback. He had to get Gallup in, and obviously you've had some O-line changes.
I think Kellen's done an excellent job. I mean, it's, when you're accustomed to playing, I mean, just you look at his career as a play caller, the way, 19 and even the beginning of 20 and definitely in 21, playing wide open in a sense. And when you have to call plays for the benefit of the team, it's a challenge. This is a defensive first operation, and that's mandated by the head coach because that's our strength. And we identified that in the spring, and I think Kellen's done an excellent job adjusting to that. You don't get to ask any questions. You're late.
Mike, what did you make of the way Trayvon played after he gave up the 2 plays?
I'll tell you what, didn't blink. That's what I liked about it. I thought he tackled very well. I think, just like anything, I mean, that was obviously a big play for them. But I just love the way he competed. And, you're going to have that. I mean, to be a top corner like he is, I mean, you got to have your memory can't be very long. So I didn't see him blink at all.
Has he ever been a guy that you've seen like one play bother him and carry it since you've been around him?
Not really. I mean, even at a young age. I mean, that's something I always admired about him. He loves the competition of the game. He loves the competition of anything. He's extremely, extremely competitive young man. So that's a huge asset for him.
Mike.
Along the lines of defensive-minded team, defensive strength, keeping that in mind as an offense, is that context that explains some of the disparity we see on first down in terms of running as often as you guys do relative to pass? It was quite the discrepancy Sunday.
Well, I mean, I think just like anything, how they line up too has something to do with it. So, I mean, that's, we're trying to be in and out of personnel and formations, but definitely. I mean, we got 2 dynamic running backs. So, I mean, I think just the way we're built and the importance of running the ball, and obviously, we came out of last year's study saying, hey, we need to be better on action pass game. I mean, it's the action pass game at first and second down was a focus for us, and obviously the more you run the ball and the more successful you are running the ball, it definitely heightens your opportunities for success in the action passing game.
You talked before about really enjoying calling plays and especially the pass plays. How difficult is that to curb your own tendencies as a young play caller to not just be about imposing your will and doing whatever you want offensively, but actually fitting it into the larger parameters of team strength?
Yeah, I say this all the time, and we talk about it as a football team quite frankly, is you need to know yourself better than anything. Your own personal self, Scott, is critical. And I'm not just talking about the players. I'm talking about the play callers. I'm talking about how we teach, how we evaluate. You have to you have to be on top of everything that way if you really think you're going to improve and grow as a coach, as a player, as a support staff member. So you got to be really aware of how you operate. And the one thing that, I push a lot, especially after week 4 with the players, you better know every snap of video that you put on that film, because that's what they're looking at. So know yourself. Self-scouts, it's just not a word. It's not just a process. It's not, I know everybody does it, but it's just like anything in the game of football. We all have the same amount of time to prepare for a game. Where are you going to spend your time? So I think it's important to spend as much time as you possibly can on yourself.
Clarence
Hill for Star Telegram. Last night you talked about the connection in the locker room, the community in the locker room, how that was the glue to what you got, more so than the talent. Last year they talked all about was a brotherhood, but is there more connection with this team? Can you expound on what you feel that this get together?
Yeah, definitely. I think, just like anything, you're able to add a draft class. You had a couple of free agents, so not exactly sure what the numbers are, 22, 23, 24% change from last year. That's really what I'm accustomed to. But, we've had very good veteran leadership even before I got here. So, that's one thing that I was impressed about in 2020. So we have excellent group of veterans. We got a lot of staff that's been here a long time, so there's definitely some assets there. So I think when you're trying to build and develop a culture, culture doesn't stay the same. It never stays the same. It's going one way or the other. And if you were able just to be around this team, this team doesn't just like each other. They love each other. They're competing all the time. There's a lot of interaction. I think the fact that you don't see it as much in today's NFL that you did back in the 90s and the early 2000s, guys, it's because there's so much to do, especially in this great city of Dallas. There's so much to do that usually when guys leave here, they're done. But these guys do a lot of things together, and I think that is huge for your locker room. So, and that's the strength of the connection compared to the last 2 years.
And when you have an injury like Dak, does that, if you're already close, they bring you, closer together?
Oh yeah, definitely. I just look the way people, rally to Dak. He has such a bright light. He has a bright spirit. People are attracted to Dak, and and that hasn't changed.
Mike.
Connor McGovern, that was his first game working from start to finish, and he was battling through some things there. How did you make of how he did working through in the first
just going back through his grade, there's definitely some things that can be better. One of our biggest things on the offensive line, I think clearly, the run blocking was physical. It wasn't clean. We definitely have technique and fundamentals that we need. We just got to stay after it and keep working it. As far as the double teams, whether we're going back, whether we're going vertical. So just a little we had a couple technical things. You had one where Aaron Donald split us, and it was clearly a footwork. We were in between what type of double team. So those are the things that they're all correctable, but the play style is where it needs to be. I thought our finish was pretty darn good, and we were giving backs clean apexes to run off of. The pass protection, our pass protection adjustment wasn't what it needed to be. We had two clearly where we put Tyler in a one-on-one situation that we could have been better there, and we had a blitz pickup we missed. So those are the things that we're focused on, because obviously they're, just like I just got done talking about, they're on film. That's what Philadelphia is looking at. So we need to be much better in those situations.
Newey.
Mike, how did you come to pick the DOC to speak to the team? And then what's that process like when you have guys who take that important role, speaking to your team to help deliver the message of what you want?
Well, number one, my daughter Alex and DOC have a relationship just through working out there in Los Angeles. But he just has such an incredible story. My family's been around him more than I have the last 2 years. And especially with our theme being resilience, in his story of perseverance, patience, and prayer, and he just had such a strong message. He has a documentary that's going to be coming out that's very powerful. So I just thought it would be an incredible message for our team. But also I knew they would. Is everything all right back there? I thought you were waiting for me. No. Okay, man, I thought I was on a good answer here, but okay, thank you. So I just thought his message and his story, would just be so powerful to share with our football team, and and it was an honor and a privilege to have him there. And he was awesome. He couldn't have been better, and the players, really enjoyed having him there.
You got a favorite song of his?
Oh, come on now, I can't.
Calvin.
My apologies.
Yeah, what's that?
My apologies from last night.
That's all right.
Christy Scales, Cowboys Radio, in regards
You're like
to...
we're on camera, Clarence. What do you got? Go,
In
Christian.
regards to locker room culture, you talk about the veterans coming and fitting in. Could you speak more to Anthony Barr and his role in that? Because he was one of the guys in Minnesota, and yet you're not bringing any attention to
Yeah.
himself.
Well, number one, it's great to be on the same sideline, Anthony. Just competing watching him compete against us for so many years. But Anthony Barr is. And he had it at a young age, just watching him in his early years in Minnesota. But football comes easy and natural. I mean, he's so instinctive. No one fills a gap as quick as Anthony. I mean, just all the little things. The way he matches coverage, recognition. He's just a very consistent personality, smooth operator, and he's just been an excellent addition for us. So, love the way he fits in. With the guys in the locker room, and just he brings a very steady leadership to our group, and like I said, football that's probably the best way I could describe him. I think the game, but he sees the game clearly, and it comes easy to him.
Mike, you've talked before about the synergy between the coaches and the personnel department. I don't know why you got a little smirk on you.
No.
I haven't gone there yet.
I can't believe we act like this in there. It's supposed to be a professional environment.
You talked about the synergy you guys have between the coaches and personnel. Is that different than other spots? And what makes it different here?
I think probably one of the biggest, most important components of football operations is the relationship between personnel and coaching. I mean, you see it time and time again. Maybe no one wants to talk about it or be honest about it, but that has sunk more ships than anything I've ever seen in this league. So, and it's important. I've always, in my opinion, been upfront and forthright of what expectations are and how you feel and so forth. And, I don't know if that's consistent everywhere, but I think our relationship and, just go to the draft. I've never been involved, or even I'm going back to the teams I worked on, to see the head coaches and the assistants that involved in the personnel part of it, and that speaks volumes to our personnel department and operation, and with Jerry, Steven, and Will, just the way we do it. So there's a ton of conversations. So you cannot not feel like you're not involved. You cannot say I didn't have an opinion. So it's a strong process. In some ways, I pretty much moved my office for at least 6 weeks. You go down there and you're with those guys every day, and they do a phenomenal job. I love the interaction of it. It's constant, and we just had a meeting before I came in here, so it's very, very important. And I don't know how you win without it.
Going back to Anthony Barr for a second, in real time, it looked like yesterday's game was his best in a Cowboys uniform. You look at plays like the screen pass that he blew up that looked like it was going to be big trouble if he couldn't get in there. Would you agree from a coaching perspective that was, in fact, his best game? And if so, is it just a product of him getting more comfortable in Quinn's system?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you just said. I thought he played very well. His read, recognition is outstanding. We practiced the screen game, especially the tight end screen game, a ton. We have a tremendous amount of respect for Higbee and just, the way they execute. Sam Williams almost picked the one off. So, but yeah, it was a big focus. But once again, Anthony is a big time player. That is an excellent addition, especially the timing of it.
Babe.
Babe Lawford, Cowboys Radio. Obviously, defense has been good, but the 2-minute has been exceptional, was exceptional last year. Off the charts good. Is there a mindset, or is there a time where you kind of say, hey, 2-minute, or why have they been so good in 2 minutes?
Well, I'll tell you, starting offensively, there's not a day that we don't practice it, and I think just like anything, your practice environment, if you're good at something on one side of the ball, and you stay with your competitive periods. We still do 2 competitive periods and 2 competitive periods on on Wednesday and Thursday. You know, and that's important. You know, so we compete on 2-minute end of the half on Wednesday. We compete 2-minute end of game on Thursday, and we compete again on Saturday. With 2 minutes. So we do it 3 times a week. We've spent a ton of time, and I think our communication is light years away, you know, ahead of where it was last year and even the year before. So just the way we're communicating, staying in clean calls, and our guys are playing faster. So I hope it keeps up because, you know, we've been 100% so far this year.
Brad.
Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio. You mentioned this before a little bit, but you picked the theme of resilience before the season started. You couldn't have known what was coming when you picked it. Why did you pick that theme this year?
Well, I knew it was coming. I didn't know exactly how or exactly what. It never doesn't come. I mean, that's you can't win a championship without going through it. I mean, that's the facts. That's what the facts tell you. You know, I mean, and maybe there is. You probably, Michael probably know the analytics. Michael over there would probably know before I do. You know, has a team ever gone from week 1 all the way through the Super Bowl and stay healthy? I mean, it just doesn't happen. So, you know, that was a big part of it, and the way our season ended was part of it. So, yeah, I think just like anything, I think themes are important if it fits the specific team. You know, as a younger head coach, you think you have, you know, you read all the books and you think you got all these great ideas, and then, you know, you may get ahead of yourself. And then you get up there and you're like, man, maybe this doesn't really fit, you know. And I've made those judgments in the past, so you learn from them. And you know, I just felt all along that this was the right theme for this team, and you know, so far it's held up.
How do you feel the emphasis on 9 on 7 in practice last week translated to the game?
Yeah, great point. We need it again this week. I mean, we got to. Hey, they're going to try to run the ball in our defense. I mean, if you know, I tell our defense, if I was playing against our defense, we'd be running the ball downhill right at them, because I mean, you don't want to deal with that pass rush. You know, you may not, and you know, and I grew up in the Marty Schottenheimer, you know, thought process. You know, 1 to 2 yards in the first quarter, 2 and 3 in the second quarter, 3 and 4 in the third quarter. Then by the fourth quarter, that thing's going to break, and that's the way we need to play. You know, and you have to have that. There's not a game that I've been a part of where you have to run the football at some point in the game. So let's just not wait to that point. You know, it's just like anything. If you want to be good at something, you got to do it often. So, but yeah, 9 and 7 to me is critical. And there's 2 parts to 9 and 7. It's not really just getting ready for this coming game. It's the development of your young offensive defensive linemen, because you know we've talked about this endlessly in here about particularly the offensive line. They don't have the time that the other positions have to develop, you know. So those padded Thursday practices are priceless to me. I just think you have to take advantage of that. So, and I've done it like that for a long time, and I think it's real important, the development of your young guys, but also to get ready to play on Sunday.
Sam Williams, how are you seeing him develop? I mean, is it coming quickly in terms of his stride? Boy,
big way Sunday. I thought clearly. I mean, I thought Sam took a huge jump. Sam was really proud of Sam. I mean, he had a couple penalties early in the year, and you know, and he's done an excellent job the last 2 weeks, you know, with, you know, correcting that. But I mean, Sam he had impact plays this week. You know, it's the most he's played. But I thought Sam Williams took a big jump this past game.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, Claire.